Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, we're talking retirement because there's so much that you need to know and prepare for at an early age. It's that pre-retirement age, let's say 5 years before you're officially ready to retire. That's when you feel really stressed out because you say, oh my gosh, I never did all the things that I should do. So Keith Springer with Springer Financial Advisors, you oversee $200 million in retirement assets. You have about 300 clients, and you have some great tips on how we can be better prepared. And I think one of the biggest tips is you have to realize that the economy has changed so much since the previous generation. A pension, what's that?
I know, the whole idea is the economy has changed so much in the last 20 or 30 years. It's a cycle. We know that people spend more money in their 30s and 40s. Well, we had the baby boomers in the 80s and 90s pushing the economy forward. Without these spenders, we lose that. So the spenders of the baby boomers are long gone. The generation has changed. And now the baby boomers, 92 million people, are in massive savings mode. They don't have the money to push the economy forward. So people need to understand that it's not like it was. People don't have the same amount of money just sitting there.
And our spending slows down at the average age of about 48?
48, right. Okay. We really peak around 48. That's our peak spending, and typically it's when our children go off to college. Not that college is cheap, but let's face it, we spend a little bit less, we drive less, we don't...
Because we have to foot that bill.
Yes, we do.
That college bill, right? You can't spend a dime after that. No. What? So expensive. NYU, I think, for 4 years, it comes to just around $250,000.
My son's going to University of Arizona right now, so I know I'm footing that bill.
Sorry. Okay, so what are some other tips that you would suggest? Understanding the economy, and then you have here investing for need, not for greed. What does that mean?
Invest for need, not for greed. That is so important as you plan for retirement, because so many people are used to simply putting their money in a 401k and letting it all ride on the stocks. They're so used to putting it in the market and not paying any attention, instead of working out exactly what you need. See, in the 80s and 90s, today's investor was younger. They just put it in the market, and that was retirement planning, just letting their money fly. Now you've got to consider the specific situations. Everything changes. If you don't need all the risk of the market, then don't take it. So most people just need a 5 or a 6 or 7% return year after year, steady and steady. Then don't take the risk of the market and risk losing 30 or 40 or 50.
Where do you find that average 6% annual return?
Well, it's specific. It's hard to say because you want a balanced portfolio in the right investments based on where the economy is right now. Of course, you don't want to go to bonds right now. There are a number of income-producing type stocks, ETFs. Emerging markets have some areas where they're like local currencies where you can go to the bond areas. Some areas of the economy are still booming in technology. You look for active and passive managers is what we do for our clients. We're trying to find value with active and passive management that wins by not losing. Try to get a reasonable upside without the big downside.
And speaking of the changing economy, I mean, you used to save a little bit of money and be able to buy a house. And that's not the case anymore.
No,
if you have that house, it's maybe now just starting to be worth anywhere near where you paid for it.
Yeah, this is the only generation in the last 20, 30 years where housing was actually an asset. Before that, our parents' houses, they went up 1, 2, 3%. They never made big money. It's only the last 20, 30 years where real estate and housing, because the baby boom, which I write about in my book, Facing Goliath, How to Triumph in the Dangerous Market Ahead, which I write about that the generation pushed that, which was a forcing of assets and needed more and more houses, which created housing as an asset. Now those baby boomers are going to nursing homes, they're dying, they don't no longer need those houses, so your home is not going to be an asset much longer.
I want to talk about that elder care issue, but first, if we can just go back to housing. So you're saying now it's not considered an asset, or it still is an asset?
It's not an asset to retire with. This generation is so used to, how many people, did we say, oh, buy a house and in 10 or 20 years it'll triple or quadruple, and then you sell it and you retire with that money. How many people, how many retirees got stuck doing that? I mean, I see that in my workshops, seminars, when I speak to groups. Many, many people thought, hey, I bought my house for $500,000, I'll sell it for $2 million when I retire. And of course, it's a half or a third of what it was because they relied on that.
But you don't think that in, let's say, 5 years, that could start to be the case again?
Absolutely not, because it's generational, it's demographics. This entire generation, the largest segment of the population, the baby boomers, which pushed the housing market forward for the last 20, 30 years, is past their home buying stage. My son's off to college. No matter what, they could make interest rates 0. I'm not buying a bigger house. I don't need a bigger house. And many baby boomers are in the same situation.
Okay. And unfortunately, your son probably isn't buying a house when he
graduates
right yet.
That's
either.
right.
He's going to move in with you.
Exactly. Well, let's hope not. He's there for the summer and working for me this summer. Hello, Josh. But the idea is the next generation that's going to push this economy is called the echo boomers. They're the kids of the baby boomers, they're the large enough generation. Now, not until around 2020 to 23 does that generation really have enough oomph to push this economy forward. So the next 5 to 8 years.
How old is an Echo Boomer, more or less?
They're born from 82 to 94.
Okay.
So they're just starting to spend money. People spend money around 30, 31 when they start buying homes, and they peak around 48 years old.
Okay, and I wrote this down, and I want to make sure I get it straight because this astonished me. It's estimated that 80 to 90% of your wealth can be spent in your final 30 months on this earth. So
Yes.
elder care is such an issue. For many people, it's not only their own elder care, but they're also taking care of their parents who are still alive because we're living longer.
That's the difference in our parents' and grandparents' generation. People died quickly.
Yeah.
They died much younger, they died quickly. Now we have medical advances which keep you alive longer and longer. Nursing home care is $6,000 to $10,000 a month. So 80 to 90% of your wealth can be evaporated. So the idea is that people need to plan for these things in retirement. Elder care is important, not only for yourself. You don't want to be a burden to your children. I don't want to be a burden to my children. Nobody does. And you don't want to see your wealth get evaporated. You have to take steps to plan, help your parents if they're still alive, because a lot of it goes away at the last couple of years.
We have a lot of retirement experts on, and I have to say you were one of the few who gave really specific advice. I noticed some changes in the economy. What's the name of your book again?
Facing Goliath, How to Triumph in the Dangerous Market Ahead.
Keith Springer, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a good day.